Okay, so let's be honest. Hiring, it can be like a total maze, right? You're digging through resumes, scheduling interviews, always hoping you're picking the absolute best person for the job. It's a lot to handle. But what if there was something out there, some tool that could actually make hiring faster, cheaper, and even help you find those amazing candidates that might have slipped through the cracks?
Well, that's the idea behind ResuMinder. It's an AI-powered platform that wants to change how we think about recruitment.
I've been doing some reading, and ResMinder seems to have some really cool features. They have this AI resume scoring thing and automated interview scheduling, and they even have access to a huge candidate database called CV Central. It almost sounds too good to be true.
That's where our deep dive comes in. We're going to take a close look at how ResuMinder actually works, what problems it's designed to solve, and whether it's really as good as it claims to be.
Sounds good. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is ResMinder, and what kind of problems is it trying to solve?
So ResuMinder is like this all-in-one hiring platform. They're aiming to make every single step of recruitment easier and more efficient. Imagine having a super organized assistant who just handles all those annoying, time-consuming tasks that recruiters have to deal with.
You mean things like going through mountains of resumes and trying to schedule interviews with like 10 different people?
Exactly. ResuMinder takes care of those things directly. Their AI can analyze resumes and rank candidates based on whatever criteria you set for a role, so recruiters don't have to spend hours reading every single application.
That would definitely save a lot of time. I know how much time can be wasted just reading resumes.
For sure. And for interviews, their automated scheduling feature takes all the hassle out of finding times that work for everyone. No more endless emails back and forth trying to find a slot that works.
Earlier you mentioned CV Central, right? Is that sort of like a giant database of potential candidates?
It is. Think of it as ResuMinder's own massive talent pool. It can be a real game changer for busy recruiters. Instead of starting from scratch with every new job posting, they can access this pool of pre-screened candidates. That speeds up the whole process of finding qualified people.
Okay, I'm starting to get why people are so interested in this, but I'm curious about the AI itself. How does it actually work? Can it really understand what makes a good candidate for a specific role?
It's pretty fascinating. The AI looks for things like keywords, skills, experience, and even subtle clues that might suggest a candidate is a good fit for a specific company or role. It's like having a super-powered researcher scanning through thousands of profiles to find the best matches.
I read something about them rolling out some new features soon that seem almost futuristic, like AI-powered interviews and meeting transcripts. Can you tell me more about those?
Yeah, this is where things get really interesting. Imagine finishing an interview, and then ResuMinder's AI automatically transcribes the whole conversation, highlights the key points, and even scores the candidate based on their responses. It's like having another set of ears in the room, but these ears are paying super close attention.
So you're saying I could have AI helping me evaluate candidates during an interview?
That's the idea. And these features aren't just about saving time, though that's definitely a huge benefit. They could also help minimize bias in the hiring process by focusing on objective data and specific criteria.
That makes sense. We all have our own biases, even if we don't realize it. So using AI to help us evaluate candidates objectively could be really useful. What about the custom criteria for job listings? How does that work?
That's actually one of the things that sets ResuMinder apart. It basically lets recruiters personalize how the AI scores candidates. For example, if you're looking for someone with a very specific skill set or experience level, you can tell the AI to prioritize those things.
So instead of using some generic AI, you're kind of training it to understand your company's specific needs.
Exactly. It's like having a headhunter who's been trained to focus only on the candidates that are the best fit for your company.
Okay, I can definitely see how this could be a game changer, especially for businesses that are constantly hiring. But are there other benefits besides just saving time?
Definitely. They also claim that ResuMinder can actually reduce your recruiting costs by up to 90%.
90%. Seriously, how is that even possible?
Well, think about all the traditional costs associated with hiring, right? You have to pay for job postings, maybe fees to recruitment agencies, and then there's just the sheer amount of time recruiters spend on administrative tasks. ResuMinder streamlines and automates so much of that, which can lead to huge cost savings.
So it's not just about doing things faster, it's also about making smarter decisions that save money. But what about the candidates themselves? Does ResuMinder do anything to improve their experience?
That's an important point, and it's something ResuMinder seems to have thought a lot about. They're really focused on creating a more positive experience for candidates. That means things like sending timely updates, reducing ghosting, and even providing constructive feedback to help candidates improve.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
With how competitive the job market is these days, companies really can't afford to treat candidates poorly.
Right. A negative candidate experience can seriously hurt a company's reputation and make it much harder to attract top talent. ResMinder seems to get that creating a positive, transparent, and respectful hiring process is just as important as finding the right people.
So we've talked about all these promises of what ResuMinder can do,
Yeah.
but what are people actually saying about it?
Well, ResMinder's website has a whole bunch of testimonials from users who seem pretty happy. What's really interesting is how diverse their clients are. You have freelancers who use the platform to manage their workload, developers who are excited about the AI tools, and CEOs who are seeing real results in terms of lower hiring costs and better candidates.
Are there any specific testimonials that really stand out to you?
One that I found really compelling was from a CEO named Jenny Walker. She said, "Thanks to this system, our recruitment process is faster and more efficient than ever before. We've seen a 30% reduction in hiring time and a significant improvement in candidate quality." It's a pretty strong endorsement, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. It really highlights the potential for AI to truly revolutionize how we approach hiring. It's not just about individual success stories, though, right? ResuMinder also has a blog where they talk about best practices and share insights for anyone involved in hiring.
That's right. They're positioning themselves as more than just a software company. They're trying to build a community and a knowledge base for recruiters. It's a smart move. It shows that they're invested in their user success.
It's really great to see. So I'm definitely impressed by what we've learned about ResuMinder so far. But is it really as perfect as it seems? Are there any potential downsides or challenges that we haven't considered?
That's a really good question. It leads us into some broader questions about the role of AI in hiring in general.
Right. It's important to think about the potential risks and drawbacks of any new technology,
Yeah,
especially one that could have such a big impact on people's lives.
absolutely. And that's exactly what we'll be looking at in the next part of our deep dive. We'll examine how ResuMinder is addressing these challenges and working to make sure AI is being used ethically and responsibly in the hiring process.
I'm looking forward to getting into that.
Me too. It's going to be a really interesting discussion.
All right, everyone, that's it for part one of our deep dive into ResuMinder. Today, we learned about how the platform works, its potential benefits, and what people are saying about it.
But we're not finished yet. In part two, we'll dig deeper into how ResuMinder is approaching those ethical questions surrounding AI in hiring and making sure it's used in a way that benefits both companies and candidates.
So make sure to tune in for part two. We'll see you then for more on ResuMinder. So, welcome back to our deep dive on ResuMinder. If you remember from the first part, we explored how the platform works, its potential benefits, and we even got to hear some feedback from users. But like with any technology that's got this much power, it's super important to make sure that it's being used responsibly and ethically.
Couldn't agree more. AI has the potential to really change how we approach hiring, but it needs to be done carefully. It's great to see how ResuMinder seems to be addressing these concerns head on.
I'm curious about that. What kind of steps are they actually taking to deal with potential issues?
One thing that really sets ResuMinder apart is their focus on data security and privacy. They've got things like advanced encryption and really secure data backups to protect all user information. Plus, they're transparent about how that data is collected and used, which builds trust with both companies and candidates.
That's definitely good to hear. Data privacy is a big deal these days, so it's important to know that they're taking it seriously.
Absolutely. And another thing, ResuMinder really stresses the importance of humans being involved in the process. Yeah, the AI can analyze all this data and identify potential candidates, but the final decision always comes down to a human recruiter.
That makes sense. At the end of the day, hiring is about connecting with people, understanding their motivations, and figuring out if they'll fit into a company's culture.
You got it. ResMinder seems to recognize that the human element is still essential. They're using AI to enhance what recruiters can do, not to replace them entirely.
We were talking earlier about how AI could help reduce bias in hiring. Could you say more about how ResuMinder is dealing with that particular concern?
Well, they've got a pretty comprehensive approach. They're really careful about the data they use to train the AI. Plus, they're using special techniques to try and detect and correct for any bias that might creep into the algorithms. And they encourage ongoing monitoring and review of the system to make sure things stay fair.
So it's not just a matter of setting it up and forgetting about it. They're actually working to ensure that the AI stays unbiased as it develops.
Exactly. They're all about continuous improvement, and they're transparent about the steps they're taking to address these really complex issues, which is great.
One of the things that impressed me about ResuMinder is that they're not just providing software, they're actually going beyond that and creating this really useful resource hub on their website for recruiters.
Yeah, definitely. They've got tons of articles, guides, and best practices on all sorts of hiring topics.
Is it all just basic stuff, or do they get into some of the more challenging aspects of hiring?
Oh, they definitely delve into the tough stuff. I was reading this one article on the top 5 challenges for recruiters and how technology can help solve them. They talked about things like finding qualified candidates, cutting down on the time it takes to hire someone, improving the candidate experience, and dealing with the increasing complexity of the hiring process.
Those are all big concerns for our listeners who are involved in hiring.
For sure. And it's great that ResuMinder doesn't just point out the problems, they offer solutions and real insights based on their own expertise and what their platform can do.
It sounds like they're really trying to be thought leaders in the recruitment world, not just another software company.
I think that's a great way to put it. By sharing all this valuable content and information, they're building trust with recruiters and establishing themselves as a go-to source for solutions.
It's a win-win, right?
Yeah.
Recruiters get access to all these helpful resources, and ResuMinder strengthens their brand and builds better relationships with potential customers.
Exactly. And it's more than just attracting customers. By sharing best practices and knowledge, they're helping to raise the bar for the entire recruiting industry, which benefits everyone.
I love that. It's not just about selling a product. It's about actually trying to make a positive impact on how we work.
That's definitely the vibe I get from ResuMinder. They seem genuinely invested in helping companies find the right people and helping people find the right jobs.
Okay, so we've seen how ResMinder is taking steps to address the ethical considerations and ensure that AI is used responsibly. But it's great that they're going above and beyond to support recruiters and really improve the entire hiring process.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a complex issue, and there are important things to keep in mind. But we should also be excited about what AI can bring to the table, the potential it has to make hiring more efficient, fairer, and ultimately more focused on people.
And that's something we can all get behind. Now, before we move on, there's one more aspect of ResMinder that I want to highlight. It's something that really makes them stand out from other platforms.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more.
Well, ResMinder has this feature that could completely change the way companies find the best talent, it's called. All right, so before the break, we were just about to reveal that really unique feature that ResMinder offers. What is it?
Well, they've got this really cool approach to matching candidates with jobs, even before the job is actually posted. And it's all thanks to something they call talent sonar.
Talent Sonar. Okay, I like the sound of that. How does it work?
Imagine it kind of like a radar system, but instead of planes or ships, it's constantly searching for those ideal candidates. So basically, ResuMinder's AI looks at things like a company's past hires, their current team, even broader trends in the industry, and they use all that to build this profile of who the perfect candidate would be, even if there isn't a specific opening right now.
So even before a company knows they need to hire someone, ResMinder's already figuring out who would be a good fit.
Yeah, exactly. And on the candidate's side, Talent Sonar analyzes their skills, experience, what they're looking for in a job.
So it's kind of matching both sides based on a deeper understanding of their needs and goals.
Exactly. And get this, when it finds a really strong match, ResuMinder actually alerts both the company and the candidate.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like a matchmaking service for the job market.
It really is. It's addressing a big issue on both sides. So companies can get a head start on finding great talent, and candidates can find out about opportunities they might not have even known existed.
That has the potential to save everyone a ton of time and energy.
Absolutely. And it could even lead to better hiring decisions overall. Like imagine a company that's been trying to find someone with a very specific skill set for ages. Talent Sonar might be able to connect them with that perfect candidate, even if the candidate wasn't actively job hunting.
That's fantastic. Everyone wins in that scenario. So I'm really impressed with how innovative ResMinder is with all of this.
I agree. It's really exciting.
Yeah.
They're not just automating the same old processes. They're finding completely new ways to connect people with the right opportunities.
So taking a step back for a minute, what does the rise of platforms like ResMinder tell us about the future of hiring? Are we headed towards a world where AI does everything?
I don't think so. My take is that the future of hiring is going to be all about humans and AI working together. The AI can handle the heavy lifting like data analysis, initial screening, and finding those matches, but it's still going to be those human recruiters who build relationships, understand company culture, and make the final decisions.
Right, hiring is fundamentally a human process, right?
Yeah.
It's about connecting with another person, getting a sense of their goals and motivations, and seeing if they'll be a good fit for the company's environment.
That's exactly it. And ResuMinder seems to get that. Their platform is all about giving recruiters more power, not taking over their jobs.
Okay, so for those listening who are involved in hiring, whether they're recruiters or job seekers, what's the main takeaway from our deep dive into ResuMinder?
I think the biggest takeaway is that the hiring landscape is changing, and it's changing fast. Technology like ResuMinder is pushing boundaries and showing us what's possible. They're offering tools that can make the whole process more efficient, reduce bias, and create a better experience for everyone.
But like we've talked about, it's crucial to approach any new technology with caution and careful consideration.
Definitely. We have to be mindful of the potential challenges that come with it, but we should also be optimistic about the opportunities that AI can bring to the table.
Well said. So as we wrap things up, what's that one question we want to leave our listeners thinking about?
How can we use the power of AI to create a hiring process that's more efficient, more equitable, and at the end of the day, more human?
That's a great question and a great place to end our deep dive into ResuMinder. Thanks for joining us, everyone.